The Palm Desert City Council study session for Thursday, May 14th, 2026. Welcome, everyone. Looking for item 2A, a presentation on proposed fiscal year 26-27 financial plan and 10-year capital improvement program. Staff presentations, what we're looking for.
I'll kick it off, Mayor. Mayor and City Council, today we're presenting to you the 26-27 financial plan and capital improvement program. I would describe this budget and the upcoming budget year as a year of balance. The city continues to be financially strong, but outside of Measure G, revenue growth is modest, costs continue to rise, and we have several priorities and capital projects ahead of us. At the same time, this budget preserves our high-quality service levels, advances City Council's goals, and continues the Palm Desert momentum. I want to take a moment to thank Veronica Chavez, our Finance Director, the finance team, all of our directors and staff who worked collaboratively to bring this budget together for you. Today, you'll see some folks presenting for the first time on budget, so we're here to answer any questions you have. It's a rolling conversation, and I'll turn it over to Veronica.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council. Veronica Chavez, Director of Finance. Staff is going to be presenting the proposed FY 26-27 financial plan, as Chris mentioned, during today's study session. Please bear with me as I have a cold. The study session also provides the opportunity for the public to weigh in on the 26-27 plan. This budget represents a comprehensive citywide effort to align available resources with council goals, and as Chris said, maintain the high-quality services that the community has come to expect. Before we get into the details, please feel free to stop me or staff at any time for questions or to let us know if you need a comfort break. Staff will also pause at key points to see if there are any council questions. So our agenda for today, tonight, we will move from high-level financial picture into individual operating budgets. We'll begin with council goals, the general fund projections, discuss expenditures, cash flow, reserves, the all-fund summary, staffing, organizational reallocations, our operational budgets, and the 10-year CIP. So at the very lead, total revenues are projected to be $112.6 million, with total expenditures at $112.5 million, leaving a modest, as Chris mentioned, fund balance of $69,000. The margin is narrow and it reflects the reality of the current environment. Costs are increasing, service demands continue to evolve, and major capital needs require careful planning. At the same time, this budget preserves core services, advances council's priorities, and keeps the city moving forward. People generally think that more revenue means budgeting will be easy. This year's budget was not easy, as the city continues to be deliberate, disciplined, and transparent about the trade-offs of our decision-making. That said, as Chris mentioned, the city remains fiscally stable and as we work to achieve our goals. Right here, you see the 2026 City Council goals. Throughout the budget process, departments were asked to evaluate their requests through the lens of service delivery, community impact, operational risk, and alignment with the adopted priorities. The proposed budget supports the City Council goals, including all those listed here, and the result is not simply a spending plan, it is a policy implementation tool that connects available resources to Council's direction and community outcomes we are trying to achieve. Next up, I will ask Sky Volkovich to lead the presentation on general fund revenue projections.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of City Council. Sky Wolkowicz, Management Analyst in the Finance Department. As we turn to review revenues for fiscal year 25-26, we adopted a budget at $109.7 million, and we currently are anticipating ending this fiscal year's budget at approximately 112. This increase is primarily due to receiving a full year's of district tax revenue. As previously discussed, revenue growth is continuing to normalize, and for fiscal year 26-27, staff is projecting relatively flat growth with the general fund revenues estimated at $112.6 million. On the next slide, we will take a deeper dive into what key drivers that are behind the 112.6 million projection. The city's three top revenue sources are just district tax, sales tax, and transit occupancy tax, which also includes short-term rentals. District tax is currently predicted at 27.5, sales tax at 25.2, TOT at 23.5. Property tax is the fourth largest revenue source for the city, projected at 12.4 million, with all remaining revenue categories totaling approximately 24 million. Staff has taken a measured approach to revenue assumptions and will continue to monitor performance throughout the fiscal year. And at this time, do we have any questions?
There are no questions on the revenue section. We'll move on to grant funding. We'll ask Daniel Hurtado to go over the details. Grant funding remains an important tool for advancing city priorities without placing the full burden on the general fund.
I did have one quick question, sorry. It was the previous slide about, there was a reduction in rent, and I'm assuming, well, I'll ask the question, I don't want to assume. It was Parkview being nullified.
Reduction in rent.
Rental income, rent and interest was one of the categories, about 5.2 million, reduced down to about 4.8 if I remember, from the previous slide, sorry. And I just want to verify the why, and I'm assuming it's Parkview, but I want to hear it from you.
So it's not Parkview because that doesn't go into the general fund, but let me look into it. My computer is down right now, and I'll pull it up as soon as I get it up and
It
let
wasn't
you
a
know.
major number, but it was a reduction.
I
Thanks.
will. It's not coming to mind. I'll get it. Daniel.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Go ahead, Jen.
Quick question, is it the building here that we're no longer,
That also goes into the Parkview Fund, so just give me a few seconds and I'll look it up for you guys.
the substation?
The substation also goes into Parkview, yes.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. Daniel Hurtado, Public Safety Coordinator. The table provided reflects current grant awards, pending applications, and major funding opportunities that city staff has pursued or is actively tracking. To date, the city has applied for approximately $39.5 million in grant funding and has been awarded approximately $12.3 million. These funds support a wide range of city priorities, including safety, housing, transportation, infrastructure, sustainability, emergency preparedness, community programs, and long-term planning efforts. Grant funding is an important tool for bringing outside revenue into Palm Desert. However, it is important to note that the city will not receive every grant it applies for. Many programs are highly competitive, have limited funding, or include specific eligibility requirements. When an application is not awarded, staff uses that experience to improve future applications, strengthen project readiness, and better align future requests with grantor priorities. This is one of the key reasons that the city adopted a formal grant policy and tracking process last year during December. A major highlight continues to be the city's federal funding efforts. Federal earmarks, now commonly referred to as community project funding in the House and congressionally directed spending in the Senate, represent a significant opportunity for large-scale projects that may otherwise be difficult to fund through local resources alone. These requests require strong project justification, clear community benefit, city council support, staff coordination, and continued advocacy at the federal level. Those will be listed on the second table below, starting with the SS4 at the Portola Interchange, Library Veterans Resource Center, and so forth right there in that area. These federal requests have focused on major infrastructure improvements, public safety needs, emergency resilience planning, resource centers, and projects that will benefit Palm Desert and the surrounding region. City staff will continue research and evaluate grant opportunities that are feasible, competitive, and aligned with the City Council goals. The city's goal is to pursue grants that make sense for Palm Desert, support long-term community needs, and help leverage outside funding for projects that improve the quality of life for residents, businesses, and visitors. And that'll conclude my portion. And I'd just like to say that it is not myself, it is a team effort. It's all of the City Council as well as city staff. So thank you. And I'm here to answer any questions.
My question is regarding joint applications. I know there's a lot of things that are collaboratively done through CVAG, but for example, if things like CERT, where it goes through the 3 different cities. Do any of these grant applications collaborate to share either resources or best practices with another local city?
The only grant that comes to mind would be the Department of Homeland Security, the EMPG, or Emergency Management Performance Grants. That would be utilized for CERT or for any of our products for that. That would be an application. I know this year the county did it a lot lower than it usually has been in the past. Historically, the city was able to get almost close to 20 grand, or 20,000, I'm sorry, and this year it's been dropped down to almost 5,000, where it's not really feasible to apply for. But I mean, moving forward, that would be a good COVE opportunity to apply for as the 3 cities receiving 1 grant, and hopefully increase our amount on those ends. But there is some that do have those partnership opportunities.
All right, thank you so much.
This is kind of just a general question about trends and things like that over time preceding this budget. Has it been your experience that a larger portion or smaller portion of our budget, or any city's budget in California, comes more and more from grants and less that are in-house or sustaining?
Yeah, that's actually something that I keep a close eye on. Post-redevelopment, we are definitely seeing an increase in grant applications for the city of Palm Desert and just the cities in general. Prior to dissolution, the redevelopment agency acted as the capital projects arm, and so there wasn't a need as much to go after those funds, and oftentimes Palm Desert didn't qualify for different grants. A lot of those requirements have been opened up recently, in fact, and so we do qualify for a lot of them. And just to go back, Mayor, to your prior question, I'm so sorry I'm out of pocket without my security blanket. The decrease is actually not in rents. We combine interest with rents on this sheet, and interest rates have decreased since last fiscal year, so that's what you're seeing there. Okay? Thank you, Danielle. If there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next slide, which comes back to me. The central theme of our budget, as Chris mentioned earlier, is balance. Balance of our current operations with future capital needs, community expectations with our available resources, and progress on major projects with protection of the city's long-term financial position. One of the most important parts of this year's budget story is the work it took to get here. Initial department requests exceeded initial available resources by approximately $13 million. That gap reflected real pressures, rising operating costs, evolving service needs, major initiatives under consideration, and continued demand on the general fund. Through collaboration between departments and the budget team, staff reviewed and refined requests, reevaluated revenue assumptions, separated reoccurring costs from one-time needs, and reviewed expenditure trends and aligned requests with council priorities. Budgets are developed between February and March of each year, and any updated revenue information that was received post-February, March, staff was able to improve our revenue projections by receipt of those actual. And so we made adjustments of approximately $6 million across all revenue sources. One of the largest ones that contributed to that is the district tax. That is such a new revenue resource for us. To project off of it has been challenging. We are still continuing to see our sales tax consultant is now initiating audits. And so even this year is one that I don't know we can count on completely for projections. Next year will actually be a full year of receipts, so we'll have a solid number then. And what that did by making those adjustments, it brought us down to about $6.9 million that was needed, or 5.8%. To do this, the budget team reviewed 5-year actual trends and worked with departments to right-size their request based on realistic spending. This was not simply an accounting exercise, it was citywide prioritization effort, and departments worked thoughtfully and collaboratively to bring forward a budget that is realistic, responsible, and service-focused. This slide is just to show you what we looked at as far as the trends go. So we went back 5 years and included 25-26 where it stood, made some projections. And when you looked at those 5-year trends, these were the percentage of budgets that were actually used on the average over those 5 years. And so we took those trends and applied them to the requests and reduced request by those amounts. Once we did that, we went back and talked to staff and said, where do you have one-time expenditures that absolutely must be included to achieve council's goals? We made those adjustments, and that's where we were able to balance by taking all those things into consideration. So with that, we'll move on to the general fund expenditures. As you can see, prior year was 109.4 in our expenditures, and now we're at 112.5. It seems like a major jump, but when you look at the cost of everything increasing, it is right in alignment with that. Police services remains the largest single general fund operating expense with a proposed budget of approximately $30.4 million. Interfund transfers are $27.2 million, which includes our transfers pursuant to Measure G, the 5-year spending plan, and support for services like fire, the library, aquatic facility, and other city priorities. Not every cost increase is driven by new programming. Many of the increases reflect public safety contracts, insurance premium increases, technology, maintenance, all the normal operating costs that we have on an annual basis. When you look at the 5-year comparisons, we have budget versus actual. They're typically right in alignment, and when you compare 25-26 to 26-27, we're pretty close to where we were at last year. This slide here is just a reminder of Measure G in the spending plan. So in our Measure G documents, we said year 3, we would allocate, we were estimating $25.8 million. Our current analysis shows that we're expecting 27.5. Much like a bond issuance, we always say we include the kitchen sink. So we always have more projects than the funding that we have. So that's where you get the $40.5 million in total plan costs. And we took what we actually anticipate receiving and spread that across Priority 1 and Priority 2 projects and programs. And so that's where you see the spread there. I just want to note the $10.9 million that we said we would allocate to new fire services was intended for Station 102 operations. It's not an actual decrease in operational costs. It's the timing of the truck coming online, and so we reduced it for that amount. If there are no questions, we'll move on.
I have a question.
Yes.
Going back to right-sizing the budget requests.
Yes.
Had you done that strategy before of looking at the actual used budget and comparing that to the asks, or is this a new strategy?
So we've actually looked at trends for the last few years now that we're able to pull them from our reports. Applying them to the request we haven't done before because there hasn't been such a substantial gap. And so this year with such a big gap, it was like, where do you start? And this seemed like the most reasonable approach to make it realistic. And then after that, going back and saying, okay, does this still work for you? And where do we need to add stuff back?
I ask because I think it's really clever.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially looking at something like, I don't know what is involved in community safety, but they're using a third every year for the last 5 years. So warrants questions, are you asking for something necessary? I was just curious. Good job.
Thank you.
And on that same chart, so it looks like almost across the board, everybody's come in under budget, under anticipated budget. Right?
Over the past 5 years.
Over the past 5
Yeah,
years.
Yep.
But then if you go to this one, you know, and the budgeted expenditures are green, are typically exceeded by the actual expenditures. So how does that math work out if most departments have come in well under budget every year, yet overall, transfers out, huh? All right, well, it's transfers out that's driving that number to exceed. Okay, great. That's it. Got it.
I remember that we discussed having a policy of letting departments kind of roll some funding over without the pressure of hitting that max for use it or lose it. Do you have any sense in your magic crystal ball how that may impact in terms of keeping it balanced versus fluctuating? Would any of that change, or what? How do you see that unfolding?
So that would impact 25, 26, and our projections at the I think we said 112 total for 25, 20, or 111? 111 total, considers that, that we are going to be carrying over some small balances. We just opened the request period up this week, and so I don't have hard numbers yet, but we are anticipating a portion of those being carried over. Welcome. Any other questions?
So what is the driving force causing transfers out to exceed, on average, over the course of the 5 years?
So transfer, the major thing in the last 2 years is Measure G. So the increase of Measure G to our resources creates additional transfers out that have to go to the other funds. Any sort of fire or something that's paid out of capital projects is immediately transferred at the beginning of the year to cover those costs. Whereas in prior years when we didn't have that, it would sit in the general fund and not be allocated. So it's allocated immediately upon approval. So it's the timing of expenditures versus what we say we're going to spend Measure G on.
Because it's almost like a condition of having passed Measure G is that once that money is available, it has to be allocated to fire or whatever.
It actually, it's a council call. If they don't want it to be allocated, we said we were going to spend the money on this, and I didn't want to leave it in the general fund if that was what we said we were going to do. So we transfer it out immediately, and it's there for those purposes that it was intended for.
So basically, it's honoring our commitments.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are we done here? Were there any other questions on Measure G? So we'll jump right into the fun part and the cash flow analysis. So for 25, 26, if you go to the very bottom of this page, we're estimating about $120 million in fund balance after everything's said and done. This is our best guess at this moment. We usually end up pretty close to where we're estimating, so I feel pretty confident in that. If you go into 26, 27, you see our 112.6 in revenues at the top. And then about halfway down the page, you can see total fund, general fund expenditures at the 112.5. And that leaves us the 69,000 that would be added to the general fund balance. The area below there are our CIP priorities that we have said would impact the general fund. So there is no other secured revenue source to cover those. And so those have a transfer from Measure G into them. The net impact is that request from general fund line that you see close second from the bottom. So for 26, 27, it anticipates that we're going to need 1.8 from the general fund reserve to cover the projects that we have planned in 26, 27. Because this is a cash flow view of things, they're broken up by year to the best of our ability currently. Staff is continuing to work with capital projects to refine the cash flow so that we can present this in a more realistic manner. But that's where we're at today. You can see each year moving out with the addition of Dave Irwin Park construction, fully funded by general fund dollars. The impact that it has on the general fund. And again, we do have money coming in from Measure G to support that, but not in its entirety. When you get out to year 10, 2034, 35, our fund balance goes down to 70, my glasses are blurry, 79.6. That is well within our reserve requirement, but it is lower than what we've seen in the most recent years. I do want to note about middle of the page where it says CIP related transfers, in those last 3 years, you see that there's not much listed, and on some years there's nothing. Those are the transfers that we anticipate from Measure G, but the operational costs for public safety are such that they exceed Measure G revenue at that point, just based on the projections. And so we do not have funds to transfer from Measure G in those latter years to projects. And I just wanted to make that note so that you could understand why those are empty.
I have a question statement. So I assume our budget doesn't include future revenue sources such as the Desert Surf Resort that's hopefully going to open by July 4th.
It doesn't,
And,
yeah, it does not.
and, you know, the arena as they expand and bring more opportunities for big events, potential hotel being built near the Desert Surf Resort, all of those can hopefully add to the future revenue, correct?
Correct.
But you need a full year in order to factor that income in, or how does that work?
No, what we generally base our projections off of is a 10-year trend so that we can see that curve that usually comes with the economy and how it changes. And so what you see here are projections based on a 10-year look back at each type of revenue source. So it's not going to be a year. It'll probably smooth out over, you know, the 10 years, but it'll have an incremental change each year. To the extent possible, I've loaded in where we think we're going to be built out so that I'm maximizing the growth now and then having it dwindle off later. But it's mostly just the known things that I can use in projections. So I wouldn't include Desert Surf or the arena or anything like that. I'll just pray for it.
I see the build-out price for Irwin Park is estimated $39 million.
That was the most recent number that I had, and I believe you will have a study session on that in 2 weeks.
Okay, because through the, watching the process at Parks and Rec, I think we started maybe mid-20s, 24 million, 25 million. So this is almost like worst-case scenario.
Yep.
Would be 39, but there's some maybe room to work with that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I definitely try to load all projects in worst-case scenario, just so you guys have a full picture. Any other questions on this slide? Okay. This next slide is just the snapshot of our reserve as a result of the cash flow that you just saw. Again, you can see at the 10th year that we are well within the 75.7 million that's required to be reserved, and well above the 35% reserve floor that you guys established back in January. There's about a $32 million gap between what we're anticipating and that floor. So there is that movement, but that's a policy decision at that time. Any questions here? Okay. Next up, we will have Austin come and talk to you about the all funds summary.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. The slide before you is a summary of the all funds for the proposed 26-27 fiscal year budget, showing total citywide revenues and expenses across all funds. The budget continues to prioritize major capital investments and infrastructure improvements reflected in the capital projects funds activity and planned transfers supporting the CIP delivery citywide and and is well positioned to maintain a strong financial position at year end. Moving on to the next slide. Shown here is the city's 10-year capital improvement program spending plan, which provides a long-range view of anticipated infrastructure and facility investment needs across all major project categories. The largest planned expenditures occur in the early years of the program as current carryover projects and near-term priorities move into active construction and implementation phases, followed by a more normalized annual investment level in later years. Projected future year spending estimates were developed using historical trends in the California Construction Cost Index over the past 5 years to account for anticipated inflationary impacts on construction and project delivery costs. Staff is also continuing to refine project schedules, cash flow timing, and expenditure projections to better align funding availability with actual project delivery needs. This ongoing analysis will help ensure capital funding is deployed strategically while maximizing investment earnings and maintaining adequate liquidity for future projects. Moving to the next slide. Recently, the city adopted a new capital planning and prioritization policy to create a more consistency in evaluating capital projects within the 10-year CIP plan. As projects were reviewed during development of the proposed budget, staff evaluated them against these priority factors, while also considering available funding capacity, project readiness, operational impacts, and overall cash flow timing. Particular emphasis was placed on projects that are already in active phases of design, permitting, or construction to ensure available funding is deployed efficiently and projects can advance without unnecessary delays. The prioritization process also helps align capital investments with broader city goals, including infrastructure reliability, public safety, service levels, sustainability, and long-term financial stability. Are there any questions on any of those?
There are no questions. We'll move on to the staffing summary and ask Andreas Daly to present that piece.
Lower. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Andreas Daly, HR Director here at the city. So wanted to briefly go over the next few slides. So as you can see for the 2026-2027 staffing summary, we are adding 3 additional FTEs from July of 2025. These 3 positions are the Economic Development Manager and then the 2 street maintenance workers that are working on the weekend. These were added to assist with completion of the council goals. The Economic Development Manager position is currently vacant and staff is reevaluating the needs of this role, determine whether the position should remain as it's currently structured or be reallocated to better align with council priorities. Next slide, yeah. Wanted to briefly highlight our reallocation of resources for services and organizational improvement. So the city has reallocated some existing positions and created some new positions for overall service and organizational improvements. These are, as mentioned previously, the 2 weekend workers, street maintenance workers to work during the weekends to strengthen our neighborhood appearances and responsiveness. To meet our city council goals, we've restructured our organization to have communications be in the city manager's office and our marketing and tourism be located in economic development. And then we have reallocated existing FTEs to support 3 new positions: the deputy city manager, the artificial intelligence officer, and the planning manager. These roles will help improve our efficiencies through process improvements.
Can you
Yeah.
real quick go
Yeah, of
over
course.
again the restructuring of the personnel that you spoke of?
The creation of the 3 different positions or the divisions.
Yeah, following that.
So the division changes. So our communications is now in the city manager's office. So that's the division, and that's to improve our coordination and consistency in citywide messaging. And then our marketing and tourism is within economic development. So that way that better supports kind of the destination promotion, economic development, and then our business strategies. And so that was done in order to help those different areas and refocus appropriately, of course. All right, next, yeah. And then just wanted to again emphasize our recruitment and our retention strategy. So our recruitment and retention strategy remains the same. Align hiring with city council goals and priorities in mind, invest in internal talent to foster a growth mindset, and maintain accountability and a high performance team. Maintain a competitive compensation package, and then lastly, reinforce a positive and productive work environment that fosters collaboration and shows appreciation to the city team. We have found that this strategy has been successful for the city and allows us to be a premier employer here in the Coachella Valley and recruit and retain quality employees. So that way we can make sure we're delivering the best services to our community and our partners. So with that, does council have any questions that I'm happy to answer? No? All right, perfect.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay, before we jump into the departments, do you have any of the questions on any of the preceding items? Okay, we'll move right along. At this point, I'll begin handing things off to the department directors and service leads. The slides are designed to show high-level department totals, purpose, council priority alignment, key outcomes, resource allocation, operational risks, and any budget notes. I'll note the corresponding page number from the detailed budget worksheets, just so you guys can find it quickly if necessary. And as we go through these sections, the goal is to give you a clear understanding of what each department is funded to deliver, where the pressure points are, and how proposed budget supports the city's broader goals. First up, we will hand it over to Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Veronica. So city manager's budget, the staff count remains the same. The two major cost differences here are insurance costs have increased citywide. So this is our portion of that cost. And the other notable change is with the reallocation of the positions, we now have the deputy city manager position within the city manager's office who will be working on citywide priorities, council priorities, different projects. This allows us to have Veronica's talents used in a variety of ways while we go out to recruitment for a new finance director in anticipation of her retirement next year. Outside of that, there's no notable changes, but happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. I so don't like hearing about that retirement, but I'm gonna work with it. There was the change in the communications under the city manager, and that's good. We know we're going to get accurate information when it begins there. So does that mean that the PIO position is now brought under that? Or how does that work?
Yes, so the PIO function is now within the city manager's office. And what we've done is versus it being one individual, it's a team of individuals that support the variety of communications efforts. And our methodology now is if there's an issue or topic involving law enforcement or parks, we are now having that parks person or that law enforcement person speak directly to the community on the issue, but in concert with our public information team.
Thank you.
There are no further questions. We will roll into the city clerk's section, pages, slide 23 through 26, and begins on your packet, page 17.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I'm Michelle Nancy, Assistant City Clerk. City Clerk's office provides legislative administration, records management, public meetings, elections, and compliance services that support the city council, city departments, and the public. The proposed budget is $1.48 million with 8 staff members. The primary budget change is the addition of the AI officer position through a resource reallocation with no increase to the city's overall staffing total. And that ends mine.
And for City Council, the City Council provides legislative leadership, policy direction, regional representation, and public governance for the city. The budget supports the Council's role in setting priorities, allocating resources, and providing transparent decision-making for residents, businesses, and community stakeholders. And the proposed budget is $391,000 and remains relatively flat. The legislative advocacy budget supports the city's state and federal advocacy efforts, including monitoring legislation, advancing city priorities, and pursuing funding opportunities. The proposed budget is $111,000 and includes funding for a new federal advocacy services contract to help support federal grant opportunities and congressional earmark strategies. And for the election budget, it supports the city's election administration responsibilities. For fiscal year 26-27, the proposed budget is $128,350, reflecting the November 2026 election for 2 council seats. Because elections occur every other year, costs increase in election years, and this budget also includes funding for a potential ballot measure if it becomes needed.
If there are no questions for Anthony or Michelle, we will go on to Andrea for Human Resources.
All right, I'm back. So staff count remains the same. Human Resources Office budget request was reduced by approximately $40,000 from the 2025-2026 budget. Though this is a minor reduction, our division continues to prioritize our strategic investment in our employees that support the effectiveness and the high-quality public service. The proposed budget supports professional development, leadership training, employee engagement, and recognition initiatives that help build our our culture and help make sure that our employees are fostering that customer service that we are happy to provide. And the staffing strategy ensures the city's ability to carry out the priorities of council by retaining talent, building internal capacity, and providing professional development and accountability. I'm available for questions if anyone has any. All right.
Seeing none, we'll move on to Police and Fire Services from Richard Canoni.
Go ahead and provide an overview of the police services budget for this coming fiscal year. The total budget proposed is approximately $30.4 million. One thing I wanted to point out, as you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner of the slide, the initial request from the Sheriff's Department was $32.4 million. Staff adjusted that proposed budget based upon historical spending, anticipated staffing vacancies associated with the academy and field training timelines, meaning we expect to be fully serviced in, or fully staffed, I should say, in December. So there is some cost savings there. And then as well as projected reductions in overtime cost as some of those vacant positions are being filled. Most of the time when we do budget for positions, they're always budgeted at the absolute maximum, knowing though that typically when a new deputy starts off, they are not hired at the absolute maximum. And so we adjusted the budget accordingly this year for that. If we can go to the next slide, it'll go over some of the cost breakdowns. So this budget supports an overall total positions of 70. That includes 35 patrol deputies and 180 patrol hours per day. A couple things I wanted to point out is this, of course, far exceeds the pre-COVID patrol levels of service and reflects a continued staffing growth. And just to give you an idea of what some of those numbers mean, in fiscal year 24-25, we had 28 patrol deputies and 144 patrol hours. Last year, that improved to 32 patrol deputies, and then this year at 35 with the 180. The budget also continues to support proactive enforcement and specialized units beyond the patrol deputies. The motorcycle enforcement team is one of those with 6 deputies. Just to point out, as you may recall, last year we purchased 3 new motorcycles. That way it allows now for further reduced downtime when they are being serviced. In addition, from 24-25, we added two additional motor deputies. And so again, while we're increasing the patrol deputies, we've also increased other deputies. Special enforcement team continues with 4 deputies. That was an increase of 1 deputy over the last 2 years. Business district team, 4 deputies. Burglary suppression unit, 2 deputies. Our SRO, our school resource officers, 2 deputies. Also an increase in a deputy over 2 years. And then of course our community service officers with 11 positions. And so with these staffing and deployment enhancements, they're producing measurable operational results. I'd like to point out in 2025, and again, we just received this information this week, so sorry we don't have the slide prepared for it. But in 2025, the city received approximately 45,958 calls for service, which was an increase of about 3.5% over the prior year. So despite the increased demand, our priority 1 response times remain stable at 6.5 seconds, while our overall response times have improved significantly. So from 23, we were at 33 minutes on average. 24, it dropped down to 24.34, and then in 25, down to 22 minutes. So we're continuing to see a progression of decreases in our overall response times. Coupled with that, our major crime categories also continued to decline citywide. Crimes against person decreased overall 12%, including a 23.8% reduction in robberies from 24 to 25. And then property crime decreased by more than 23%. Two significant reductions were a 43% reduction in burglaries and a 39% reduction in vehicle thefts. And so staff believes that the continued investment that we have in public safety technology is directly contributing to these outcomes. Most notable would be the city's ALPR program. We now have 147 out of the 157 cameras up and running with the remaining two soon to be installed. And just to give you some overall numbers of what that means, so since as of March 31st, 2026, ALPR-assisted investigations have resulted in 200, again, these are Palm Desert numbers, 245 arrests and the recovery of nearly $1.3 million in stolen property. It should also be noted that the RSO contract budget has increased from approximately $20.4 million during those what we'll call reduced service periods in 22-23 to the proposed budget of 30.4, representing an approximate 49% increase or $10 million increase. And so this increase reflects the restored and expanded staffing levels, some rising operational costs, those special enforcement resources, and then continued investment in technology and supportive services. And so looking ahead to this fiscal year, staff is continuing to evaluate additional technologies along with the Sheriff's Department. This includes investigative software, AI-assisted report writing, and drones as a first responder program to improve overall efficiency, enhance deployment strategies, and more importantly, allow deputies to spend more time in the field. So overall, the proposed budget reflects the city's continued commitment to proactive policing, operational efficiency, and long-term public safety investment. Current performance data demonstrates that this increased staffing, the targeted enforcement, and technology investments are improving service delivery, maintaining strong response times, and contributing to continued reductions in crime throughout the community. And so this budget, we believe this budget positions the city to maintain high-quality public safety services while continuing to adapt future operational and community needs. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I know Lieutenant Turnus is also here that could provide any operational specific questions.
Just one distinction I'd like to hear about is the difference between mileage and fuel, mileage cost. Is that just wear and tear on vehicles and things, or? It's item 1920.
Yes.
21.
Yes, that's the maintenance. Yes.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm ready for, okay. So moving on to fire services. And so the proposed budget is approximately $29.4 million, with the largest component being fire and EMS cooperative service agreement with Riverside County Fire. This also includes the fire marshal services coming in at approximately $28 million. So that's the blue that you see in the graph. And so going to the next slide, showing projected revenues for next year are coming in at roughly $23.1 million compared to projected expenditures of approximately $29.4. And so similar to the conversation that we just had a few slides ago, to maintain these current service levels, this budget includes a approximate $6 million transfer from the general fund to cover that cost. Staff has also prepared a 5-year financial projection that includes those estimated general fund support levels as we continue to move through our budgeting process and understand what and where all the needs are for our general fund dollars. One operational component I'd like to highlight as it reflects a increase from the prior fiscal year is the expansion of the fire marshal services, which goes from 330 to approximately 632. We now will have this coming year both the fire marshal and then 2 inspectors here on staff, as opposed to them not being at City Hall. A couple things that this has done is, one, having these services in-house has consolidated plan review into a single consistent review time frame, eliminating the prior practice of splitting the reviews between 2 different agencies, which at times had caused significant delays, especially in some of our larger development projects. More importantly, it provides continuity through one assigned reviewer rather than having multiple rotating reviewers. It's improved consistency, accountability, and most importantly, customer service. This structure has also allowed the fire marshal function to be more integrated with the building official and inspection team, and so supporting collaboration both at the counter and in the field during inspection and project coordination meetings. And so at those times when someone would come in for a question, we don't have to now turn them away and send them up north to the county's facility. The fire marshal's right there, or one of the inspectors can come right out to the counter and assist and answer those questions. Also, inspections are now completed within approximately 1 to 2 days, while allowing for greater flexibility, responsiveness, and continuity. One other thing I'd like to note, if you recall from Rosie's presentation a few weeks ago, Development Services is also conducting a fee analysis during this coming fiscal year, as fire plan review and inspection services are currently not included within the building permit or business licensing fees. And so whether or not at some point in time that'll really be we'll have those numbers for you. It'll be a policy decision at that time as far as what level you'd like to recoup for those plan review and inspection fees. And so that will come later in this coming fiscal year. But overall, this proposed budget reflects the city's continued commitment to public safety, improved operational coordination, and maintaining a high-quality emergency response services for the community. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I do know that Chief Wright is also here that can jump in at any time.
Thank you. What is the Whitman Billing Services? Remind me, please.
That is our ambulance. They handle our billing for ambulance.
All right, thank you.
Richard, can you talk about the increase in the cooperative services agreement? Is the rise due to staffing the new fire station solely, or does that also include the new hour contract for the state firefighters?
I believe it's both. It's both. It's a combination of both the staffing as well as the new contract hours.
And then the additional increase you see next year is with Truck 102 coming online.
Good. I was, let's see, what was it? Oh, public safety meeting, sorry, this past week. We talked about, as we always do, we talk about service calls and the breakdown of what service calls require what. And if I remember, about 80% were medical. And of course, a lot of those are, I don't know if they really require fire response, but you never know until you go, right? So and then we're at the same time, we're talking about implementing maybe a new 911 system that may filter out some of the non-necessary calls and act as sort of a shield or filter to keep the staff at the station when it's not necessary. So is there any anticipation of how that might affect fire budget moving forward if an effective 911 system is implemented?
I may want to refer to the chief on this one, but I do know, I haven't seen any, I knew that the program with having the nurse being able to respond, because it's so new, I don't know that we have exact numbers or if there's been reductions yet in that, but I'll defer to the chief.
Good afternoon, everyone. So what we talked about in a public safety committee was about 80% of the calls are medical emergencies in the city. The one thing I did highlight was the nurse navigation, and what that is basically when someone calls 911, our dispatch is accredited, where they basically ask them a series of questions, and then they determine what is the most appropriate level of response. Is it sending a fire engine and an ambulance code 3 with lights and sirens for a severe emergency? Or sometimes they downgrade the call and we send a fire engine and ambulance code 2, which would be without lights and sirens. So it's not driving through the city erratic for a less severe injury or something along those lines. And then the nurse navigation is a new program. We're still collecting a lot of data and stats on that. And it seems kind of on average, maybe about 2% of our calls get transferred to nurse navigation. And what that is a lot of times where people call 911, they don't necessarily need paramedics or EMTs. A lot of times they just need transport to the hospital, or maybe they need their medications, or they need behavioral health, where they just need to talk to a nurse over the phone. So there's multiple different avenues that the nurse navigation takes. It's not just kind of one clear box, but that does help that 2% of calls keeping down our call volume and not responding as much as our call volume increases.
So that's sort of already been accounted for in the budget looking forward?
Yes, absolutely. This is help to help, as our call volumes keep increasing, it's helped keep it down. But like I said, it is about 2% of the calls on average.
All right, and just, yeah, no kidding. So, and remind me how long that nurse navigation system's been used?
Off the top of my head, about 6 months now. So we're still collecting data and seeing how everything works. But from the data we have received so far, 97% of the time it's been accurate once they've gone down the treatment modalities, and only 3% of the times once they've gone down nurse navigation, we've had to re-respond a fire engine and ambulance to that call. So it is working successfully. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may mention one other item, looking at the capital projects, I didn't want it to look like we are not funding any capital projects for next year. Where that money is coming from is out of bond proceeds, approximately $22 million, and that will fund the improvements at stations 71 and 33. And I know Casey will hit on that as part of the CIP, but just wanted to mention that so it wasn't that was overlooked.
All right, then. If there are no other questions, next up we have Erica Castellano to give you community safety and animal regulation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. Erica Castellano, the Assistant to the City Manager, and the proposed community safety budget is $262,000 and supports essential emergency preparedness, response, and public safety related services. This funding maintains core community safety programs while strengthening the city's ability to prepare for emergencies, reduce risk, and support the safety of residents, students, visitors, and businesses. The key funded programs include the Citizens on Patrol, the Crossing Guard services for the district, the Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, the Crime Stoppers Hotline, and other operational needs such as emergency supplies and preparedness materials. And if there are no questions, I'll move on to animal services. So the proposed animal services budget is $617,500 and supports animal regulation and services provided primarily through the Riverside County Department of Animal Services. Of this amount, $550,000 funds the city's contract with Riverside County Department of Animal Services for core animal control, regulation, sheltering, and response services. The remaining $67,500 supports local animal service programs that directly benefit the residents and pet owners. These include the pilot pet adoption incentive program, the spay and neuter voucher program, the pet reimbursement program, and mobile clinics provided through the county. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have a question, just a comment for finance. These graphs, visually, I understand they're showing proportion, but from year to year, the changes are so much, it makes it look like it's flat to anyone who's not actually paying attention to the numbers from year to year. So I just want to pass that feedback along. As I'm looking at it, it just distorts kind of the scale from year
They were the bane of my existence the last few weeks. Completely understand. We will fix it for next year.
How quickly did the vouchers go as they became available?
Just last week, we are out. So pretty quickly, just a few months.
And you said a few months. I see a lot of happy faces there. So I want to take this time to say thank you to everybody that's been involved to go from trying to figure out how much we needed, what were we paying, were we under, were we overpaying, to now with the incentives and creativity of staff, we're down to less than 10 animals in Palm Desert that originated in Palm Desert. That's astonishing to what great minds have come together to put into place. So thanks to you and the folks at the library and everybody that has to turn someone away because we're doing a great job of reaching out. So thank you for that.
No, it's been a team effort. Everybody's been doing great. It's been a great program.
Thank you, Erica. So next up, we have Anthony on legal services.
The city attorney's budget funds general legal counsel provided through Best and Krieger, including risk management, ordinance preparation, contract review, litigation support, and governance guidance. The proposed budget is $389,256, with the increase primarily related to CPI and the contract amendment. And then for special legal services, the budget funds legal costs outside of the city attorney's general retainer. And these include legal matters, litigation, claims, and other services requiring separate legal expertise. The proposed budget is $732,000 and provides flexibility to address legal needs that fall outside routine city attorney services.
Would our contract with JPIA fall under this, or where would that?
JPIA falls under insurance, and
Insurance,
that's coming
not
up.
legal. Okay, cool.
If there are no other questions, we will jump into our new division, and Richard Canoni will give it to you.
Just to quickly touch base on this one, this is the new division within the city manager's office, the new communications division. There's really no new staff. This was just sort of a realignment of duties and staff. And so rather than having community engagement, which was part of economic development, and then marketing, part of the city manager's office, those duties were swapped and realigned. And so now this division includes essentially all communications, website, as well as improving our social media, coming up with a more robust program, making sure that we have a continuity of messaging, and it has this all has the same look and feel of what Palm Desert is. Also bringing community engagement into this group, as well as being able to assist, serving as a resource for all of the departments within the city. So that way, community engagement is not just part of economic development; it's something from the manager's office that we can assist and provide that knowledge base for all departments. And then the PIO functions as the city manager explained a few minutes ago. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, seeing none, we'll jump into information technology from Clay Von Health.
Good afternoon, Clay Von Health, IT manager. IT staff levels are unchanged, but there is a significant increase in software license costs. As the city continues to modernize our technology, more applications are moving to software as a service platforms. This shift enhances reliability, security, and long-term sustainability, but it also results in higher recurring software expenditures as we replace perpetual, traditional, on-premise systems with subscription-based service models that are in the cloud. The budget reflects the ongoing costs necessary to support the city's modernization efforts and ensure stable, secure, and efficient technology services across all departments. Happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none, we will turn it over to Sky once again, and she'll go through the finance budgets.
Hello again. So first slide will be, we're going to go over finance department. So our proposed budget is at 3 million. Staff sick count is 16. And salaries and benefits are coming in at 2.87 million. Finance provides citywide budget, accounting, payroll, audit, and financial reporting services with a focus on fiscal stewardship, internal controls, transparency, and supporting all departments throughout the city. We have no questions. Go on to audit. Independent audit budget this year is $93,000. This will be the first year that the city engages with CLA audit firm. Audit services changed over from LSL. This is going to continue supporting financial transparency, compliance, accountability throughout our annual audit process. Next slide. General services budget is $6.6 million this fiscal year, which funds citywide administrative obligations, retirement and benefit cost, shared services, professional support, dues, and grant support. Key drivers include increased PERS cost and the addition of Jocelyn Center and Visit Greater Palm Springs costs that were previously budgeted in contributions. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what prompted the shift in how those are allocated?
Because they're not necessarily contributions. So in the contributions account, we have outside agencies, we have our sponsorships. So we wanted to kind of realign with where they are better suited.
Okay. Makes sense, thank you.
And then just really quickly, the way the retirement benefits show up here, the dark blue that typically represents salaries and benefits. I just wanted to point out that is strictly our PERS payment, and it increased substantially this year. So that's why you see that increase in general services.
For insurance, our budget for this, for fiscal year 26-27 is.
Before can we go back to that?
Yes, sir.
Is the CalPERS increase, what is the main driver for the increase?
So there's a couple of things. There's the increase overall with their, oh gosh, my brain, their percentage rate increase, but also the OPEB payment. We pay ours annually, and depending on how that increase impacts our OPEB, either increases or decreases the amount that we say we'll pay annually over, I think we did a 20-year payment plan. And so those two are contributing to the increase. So it's the rate that changes it.
And their rate is a formula based on their stock returns plus the contribution from the cities and then the employees. So if it goes up, does that mean their returns are down? Or
This is the backwards thing that gets me every year when I don't have it in front of me. We receive the inverse of whatever their rate does.
right. So when it goes up, they're making less on their investments.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. Okay.
For the insurance budget for fiscal, the proposed budget is 1.87, including unemployment insurance. The primary budget driver is a $500,000 increase in California JPI pooled premiums compared to prior year, reflecting rising insurance costs. Next slide, please. Interfund transfers come at a total of $27.1 million and support major citywide operations and capital priorities. And then you can see the list, the breakdown on your screen. If I have no questions, thank you.
And then the last one for finance is the outside agency funding and community sponsorships. The amount we're budgeting this year is $1.06 million. This is in alignment with our prior year budgets, with the two items that Sky mentioned earlier that we moved to general services for Jocelyn and Greater Palm Springs. If there are no questions, we can move on. Next up, we have Derek White here from Kemper to deliver the Desert Willow budget.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Here we are again, another year. These last 12 months, I know the team at Desert Willow have garnered a vast number of customer experience awards, as well as course condition awards. This fiscal budget that's proposed will certainly allow us to continue those efforts, trying to make sure that this crown jewel of an amenity stays that way. From a revenue perspective, post-COVID, we saw lots of double-digit revenue growth years. We are starting to see that, tail off, and we're now in a position where, as echoed from the city manager, where we're seeing much more nominal increases. So we're projecting more in that 2 to 3% growth as there is stiff competition in the market. And then from a cost footprint, those costs just continue to go up as well, whether it's labor, which we don't plan on increasing staffing levels per se, but the cost to employ all those folks, since we are a very labor-intensive unit, will continue to go up. So as noted in our risks, inflation being a key factor in a business like ours, as well as the tourism trends when it comes to revenues. And then obviously we'll be constantly watching weather. We like to say all rain at night is constantly welcomed at Desert Willow, but the daytime rain, not as much. I think that is really the gist. Any particular questions?
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Next up, we have Shannon with the library budget.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Shannon Vonnegut, the Director of Library Services. So here we have a proposed $2.6 million budget for the library. The library has 21 employees, 9 of those are full-time and 12 are part-time. In the upcoming fiscal year, the library will continue serving as a community hub for the residents, providing a variety of programming and materials for all ages. Our priorities for the next year include exploring educational solutions and opportunities in Northern Palm Desert, as well as preparing an operational plan for our new facility. The requested funding will support the library facility operations, staffing, maintenance of equipment, acquisition of physical and digital materials, and access to online resources, as well as programming. I'm available for any questions.
What have you seen as the most successful program, or at least, let's say, top 5? Because I know every month you've got a variety of things.
I would say at this current moment, Mahjong. But I also heard from Palm Springs that their numbers have dropped significantly. Our weekly Mahjong is getting over 60 people each time, so we're looking at trying to expand that. We're getting ready for summer reading. Last year we had over 600 participants, so we're aiming high and hoping to hit a higher number this year. But Pokemon is another one that we're seeing huge numbers, and we're working with other community organizations to try and combine those efforts to get everybody playing Pokemon. It's a really popular game that we're finding that people are just looking for that community and a chance to meet other people.
And you said how many do Mahjong?
It's been over 60 the last couple weeks.
That's wonderful, thank you. And thanks to your staff that puts that all together. I know it's a lot of moving pieces.
Team effort.
Actually, this might be for Veronica. Can you remind me what the, on the revenue side, what we're still receiving from Riverside County?
On the revenue side, we're anticipating 2.3 million next year. We know Shannon will have a balance carryover, so that's why we're able to fund the full 2.6.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
So next up, we have economic development with Martine and his team. Do we need a break, or is everyone good to keep going? Okay.
I'd see you back here about 147. Item 2A.
Okay, so next up, we have Martin Alvarez and his team for economic development. Oops, let me move it forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'll give you a brief update on our proposed 26-27 budget for economic development. Our proposed budget is $1.97 million. We have staff of 8 team members. The mission for our department obviously is to grow and sustain our economic growth by attracting, retaining, and expanding business throughout the city, while helping to support the local economy, quality of life, through strategic partnerships and investments. This includes key land transactions and dispositions that will also advance economic development goals throughout the city. Our department's goals also align with the City Council's goals by advancing the redevelopment of the mall, by promoting and attracting family-oriented entertainment opportunities, also by creating and enhancing citywide events and entrepreneurship initiatives, and also creating opportunities for new businesses that will be long sustaining the local economy and diversifying it as well. The key outcomes that we're gearing towards is to support the sale and redevelopment of the city-owned Sears site, and also coordination with the mall ownership to advance a specific plan that will completely remodel the entire site. We're also looking to promote and attract a farmer's market here in the city of Palm Desert, and also by implementing regional events, marketing strategies that will help us attract visitors and new opportunities for new technology businesses throughout the city as well. We're also looking at initiatives to bring new services to North Palm Desert that will help support the new growth in that area. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I do. I mean, this is a little bit off budget topic, but you mentioned farmers market. At the most recent El Paseo BID meeting, Patrick mentioned that the Gardens is pursuing that, that the ownership at the Gardens is pursuing a potential farmers market up on the parking deck. Is this, are we in concert with them, or are we pursuing something separate?
We are looking at any and all opportunities to bring a farmer's market to Palm Desert, and I'd certainly be happy to touch base with Patrick at the mall, but we have not connected yet.
There, no.
Can you tell me or estimate for me how much we've taken in as revenue from the dining decks? Was it substantial?
I don't have that
or
off
is
the
it
top of my head,
marginal?
but we can certainly look into that.
Yeah, just an estimate, because I know we've talked about the benefit and who and what is this doing in terms of staff work and projects, because we've talked about the benefit of realigning. So it just kind of popped in my head as a question of how much is actually being generated. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, we will move on to community promotions with Amy Lawrence.
Good afternoon, Amy Lawrence, Deputy Director of Economic Development. The community promotions account includes funding for city-produced events such as the Independence Day celebration, which is enhanced this year for the 250th anniversary of our nation, concerts in the park, fall and spring, and other events that take place throughout the year. The account is also used for the courtesy cart program. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. Okay, thank you.
And next up, we have Thomas Soul with the marketing budget.
Good afternoon, Thomas Soul, your Marketing and Tourism Manager. The purpose of the marketing program is to promote Palm Desert as a destination for visitors, businesses, and investment through tourism, event, and economic development marketing. The proposed budget is $1.66 million for this year, which is about a $200,000 reduction from last year. The reductions have come primarily from the hotel co-op line, and then a reduction in media buys. Should more requests come in through the hotel co-op program, we'll bring them to council. But at this point, every year we budget for that, the known amount that we've already promised for the next fiscal year, and then we budget extra money in case requests come in the year for the year. And so that money may or may not get used. So what we've done is reduced the extra amount. so that it's a little bit more in line with what we actually spend per what Veronica had mentioned earlier. And if we exceed how much we have, we can always bring back requests. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
You've mentioned that if there is a shortfall, you can come back and ask more money. What's the margin of error that you give yourselves in terms of the kind of expenses that could pop up? Are we talking a little bump or a big chunk?
It's hard to tell. It's a very good question. It really depends on what business comes. Pretty much this is with the JW Marriott. So if they have a group that would like to come in a need period, so during the summer, early January, early December, times when Palm Desert is not, our hotels are not full. If a good opportunity arises, then they come to us and make a request, and then we work with them based on the funds that we have available. So it kind of depends. Sometimes nothing comes in which case the money all goes back to the general fund, and other times we use chunks of it. So it's really hard to predict. This year, it seems like we're pretty solid for the coming fiscal year. We don't see a lot of new requests coming up short term, but longer term is a little bit more play, and that's 3 to 5 years out. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Development Services, and we will receive that from Kalina Perez.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Kalina Perez, Management Analyst in Development Services. I'll be here to present the 26-27 budget for Development Services, which includes planning, code, building and safety, permit center, housing, and engineering. The Development Services budget supports department-wide operations and key planning efforts that advance council priorities. Our fiscal year 26-27 focus is continued support for long-range planning efforts, including UNSP updates, UDC add-ons, downtown initiatives, and CEQA efforts, as well as process improvements and customer service enhancements. This supports strong internal coordination and improved resident, business, and applicant experience. Any questions? Okay, next slide. The building and safety budget ensures construction and remodeling comply with state and local code requirements to protect public health, safety, and welfare. Our fiscal year 26-27 focus remains on prior year priorities, including monitoring plan review timelines, permit processing, and inspection availability. The intended outcomes are improved service timeframes, workflow efficiency, and customer satisfaction. Any questions? The next budget is going to be the Permit Center. The Permit Center budget supports the council goal of a centralized one-stop shop experience for city services. Our fiscal year 26-27 focus is on Phase 2 Clarity implementation, the addition of fire fees and business licenses into the Clarity system. What we expect from these improvements is improved internal workflows, increased automation, stronger record keeping, and a more streamlined customer service experience. Any questions? Next slide, please. The code compliance budget supports clean, safe, and attractive community standards through municipal code enforcement. Our fiscal year 26-27 focus is the commercial compliance program supporting the Zero Blight initiative. The outcomes we're working toward are reduced blight and repeat violations, faster complaint response, and increased voluntary compliance. Any questions? Next slide, please. The engineering and land development budget supports plan review, land development processing, and coordination on private and public projects. For fiscal year 26 and 27, the budget continues support for staff and consultant resources. As you'll see, there is a note there that includes a $250,000 allocation for CIP consulting services within the engineering budget. This supports improved plan check turnaround times, quality control measures, streamlined workflows, and clear communication. Questions? Next slide. For the Housing Authority Fund, this supports the preservation and management of the affordable rental housing properties owned by the Palm Desert Housing Authority. The fiscal year 26-27 focus is still continued work on health and safety projects, ongoing operations and maintenance, as well as tenant support. The goal is to maintain safe and stable housing assets while continuing to preserve the city's affordable rental housing properties. Staff will return at a separate study session for a more comprehensive housing update, including key risks, opportunities, and potential strategies. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Kalina. We'll move on to Public Works and hand it over to Randy Chavez and his team.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Randy Chavez, Director of Public Works. The next several slides, we're going to be talking about the different divisions in Public Works, but all divisions share one priority for the upcoming fiscal year. That is to focus on safety, cleanliness of the city, and efficiency in delivering our maintenance services and capital improvement projects. So with that said, we'll dive right in. So the first slide is our Public Works administration. This is a team that's primarily here at City Hall. The staff count has remained unchanged, and the budget is pretty much the same as last fiscal year. So just to highlight some of the projects we will be working on next fiscal year, like I mentioned, safety is obviously a priority. There's a lot of traffic improvement projects, playground repairs, ADA and street improvement projects, to name a few. And also, we are working on the waste finding master plan. So these projects here, they'll either be awarded or in construction next fiscal year. And I would like to invite Ms. Julia Breyer to give the next presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Julia Breyer, Senior Project Manager in Public Works. The Traffic Division's fiscal year 25-26 budget remained consistent with prior fiscal years. However, the proposed fiscal year 2026-27 budget increased to approximately $1.7 million. My apologies. The overall increase is primarily associated with the transition and incorporation of the city's public art program into our division. The proposed budget supports the continued operation, maintenance, and reliability of the city's traffic control infrastructure, including our traffic signals, street lighting, traffic control devices, and public art assets. Funding priorities include preventative maintenance, safety improvements, timely repairs, and operational enhancements that are intended to maintain system reliability and support our efficient traffic operations throughout the city. The Traffic Division continues to support City Council's Clean, Safe, and Attractive City Standards initiative through our data-driven operations, regulatory compliance, proactive infrastructure, and responsive service to our community concerns and operational needs. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
So moving on to the Public Works Streets and Maintenance, there has been a slight increase in the budget for salaries and benefits, and that's due to the 2 additional street maintenance workers that will be coming on board next fiscal year. One of the things we budgeted for next fiscal year is parking lot maintenance. Keep in mind, this is not a capital project account, but merely an account to respond to emergencies and citizen requests for improvements, minor improvements. Courtyard, this is primarily for repair and maintenance, this budget. And it's similar to last fiscal year. Next fiscal year, it's about the same. No major changes. The fleet repairs, the repairs are down. We're forecasted to be down next fiscal year. This is partly due to the arrival of new vehicles based on the new fleet purchasing policy that's in place. Facility maintenance, this is for City Hall, a little bit of the Jocelyn Center and our Historical Society. And again, it's pretty much the same, with the exception that we moved staff we had a slight reorg, so the salary is slightly more next fiscal year because of the public works superintendent that is in this division now. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Sean Muir.
Thank you, Randy. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Sean Muir, the Community Services Manager. Talking first about the Portola Community Center. This is for the Portola Center building, so it's a stable budget. There's no major change, and this budget focuses on small maintenance projects, such as this year we're repainting some areas and doing some lighting upgrades. Questions? Next slide.
I do. What are the professional services for? Is that the contract for DRD to operate it?
Yes, that's correct. For Civic Center campus park maintenance, this budget actually decreased. We have completed a number of deferred maintenance projects over the past few years, so we're able to manage a decreased budget in this area. It does also include professional services for Desert Recreation District staff. And the next slide, citywide park maintenance. This includes all other parks besides Civic Center Park. We did have some additional parks come online this year at the University Park area, but we are able to manage those within this slightly decreased budget. And for community services, the community services team consists of 7 team members, a manager, a project manager, 1 management analyst, and 4 landscape inspectors. They're responsible of maintaining all of the medians, El Paseo, Artist Center, and San Pablo. We're also responsible for any park improvement planning and some minor capital projects under Public Works, community programs such as Arbor Day, Tree City USA, and the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. And this budget went slightly up, and it's mainly due to salary increases. And my next few slides are about the Palm Desert Aquatic Center. Last year's budget looks a little bit different in terms of expenditures. I'm sorry, the current year's expenditures look a little lower than normal, and that's because of the closure that happened to make repairs in the pump room. Next year, we plan on being back to normal operations. So there's a $3.4 million operations budget that will be offset by an anticipated 1.1 in revenues. So we anticipate the general fund transfer for the Palm Desert Aquatic Center's support is $2.3 million. On the right.
Question on that. So expenditures are down to the closure, but revenues are still pretty high. Where are the revenues coming from?
That is actually the transfer that we make from the general fund to support it.
Got it, okay, thanks.
Thank you, Veronica.
Is the Aquatic Center fully operational yet?
The Aquatic Center opened yesterday
Yay.
to lap swimming and water exercise. Okay. We do have a closure on Saturday so that we can train additional lifeguards and get all of our recreational amenities up and running. But aside from that, we'll be up and operating as normal.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. And on the right here on this chart, you do also see the 1.75 in capital for the coming fiscal year. We're not undertaking any major capital investments for the Aquatic Center. This is for some landscaping improvements, some fencing on the east side of the parking lot, and bank stabilization near the channel that is adjacent to the Aquatic Center.
And to your question earlier, Mayor Pro Tem Pradetto, we are using the transfer from fiscal year 25-26 to cover those capital improvement costs for 26-27. You're welcome.
Any other questions about that slide? Okay, next slide. So this month, we're preparing for the full reopening and inviting the community back. We're initiating a deeper analysis on the use patterns and the service levels that are being provided at the Aquatic Center. We've got a tracking system in place now for our facility assets, and so we can see how they're being utilized and when they might need to be replaced. And we'll enhance communications around that, both internally and externally as needed. We'll also continue to collect key performance indicators. It's something that we already partner with the YMCA on tracking so that we can be responsive to any trends and metrics that come up. So we can try to increase our programming as we go forward. Any questions about that? All right. Last slide on the Aquatic Center is a look ahead, and so the goal here is going to be to address the city subsidy. We are targeting 3 key areas to do that, and that is increasing attendance by updating the marketing strategy, refreshing the website, and using targeted advertising, and then increasing our revenues, and we'll do that by diversifying our offerings, increasing our programming, our offerings at the concessions area, et cetera. And then maintaining our updated facility information. I mentioned that tracking system. We'll be keeping tabs on how all of the equipment is doing and plan for its maintenance or replacement in the future. And that's my last slide. Any other questions?
We had talked in years past, because we're implementing that, what, a 5-year program to increase rates, just a little bit at a time over the course of 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, so with the closure now reopening, when it reopens, or now that it has reopened, have the new higher admission rates been implemented since the closure?
Yes, that's a great question. And the last fee increase was implemented in July of last year. This year, we opted not to do the fee increase because we were closed for so long. However, we'll reopen, go back through summer, and then reassess in the future to see whether a fee increase is still warranted. But there will be no fee increase in 2026 that's planned.
Okay, so we're at the same admission rates as we were last summer.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, Gina.
Yeah, and then remind me, who is the internal team that's going to be in charge of hopefully increasing attendance?
That's the city's team in partnership with the YMCA, and so the Public Works team in Community Services, of course, Director Chavez, myself, and a management analyst and project manager that are assigned.
Okay, so I hope we have some great ideas for this.
We do. Any other questions? Thank you.
Right, I didn't realize you were done with the parks. I apologize. One last question. Baja Park. We had, I thought, put the green light on some improvements there, and then I understand that there's some question on whether or not we're going to pursue major improvements at Baja Park, and where do we stand with that?
So Baja Park, the design is completed. We are looking at grant opportunities for that full park design, but we really scaled back, and it's a good segue because Casey's coming in of looking at the scopes of our projects in terms of what the scope is and what we can afford. So right now, the clear needs are conducting lighting, some refresh of the landscaping. So we have $500,000 set aside to conduct that work, and should we secure grant dollars, we will complete the rest of the design.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Casey with the capital projects budget.
Save the best for last. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Casey Arndt, Director of Capital Projects. I'm pleased to present the proposed fiscal year 26-27 capital projects budget and discuss the department's direction moving forward. Our proposed operating budget remains generally consistent with last year, with the exception of an additional position that was reallocated from finance, bringing our staff total to 10. In capital projects, our 2 greatest operational risks continue to be cost escalation and schedule delays. As a new director, I'm taking a comprehensive and disciplined approach to how we plan, design, and deliver projects. We are evaluating projects from conception through completion with a focus on early collaboration, defined project scope, cost accountability, schedule performance, and regular council engagement and decision points. Our goal is not simply to deliver projects, it is to deliver the right projects at the right scope and within budget. One example is Day River Park. Staff will be bringing forward in 2 weeks a revised delivery strategy that provides council with clear options and a phased approach for consideration. Moving forward, we will also place greater emphasis on designing projects to establish budgets rather than developing full concepts first and pricing them later. Our department remains aligned with council priorities by maintaining and improving public infrastructure, protecting city assets, reducing long-term risk, and delivering high-quality public improvements responsibly. Ultimately, success for fiscal year 26-27 and beyond will be measured by our ability to deliver projects on time, within budget, with transparency and accountability. Over the next few slides, I'll discuss the specific strategies we are implementing to achieve that. Next slide. These 8 projects represent some of the city's major priority projects for fiscal year 26-27 and beyond, though not our full capital portfolio. These projects are the foundation of our spending over the next 3 years. We'll begin with the library, the new library. The Parkview building demolition is now complete. Hopefully you've seen it. Looks great. It's gone. The revised RFP process is currently underway. We held a pre-bid meeting on April 23rd, which was attended by 9 builders, 7 architects, and 2 engineering firms. The deadline for submissions was extended 1 week after we received 2 inquiries to extend the deadline.
You said 2 architects?
7 architects and 2 engineering firms.
Ah, had we already decided on Richard Kennedy, or is that?
So they were the design, they came up with a conceptual design, but not.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I have a comment on the library. Is now the time? Yes, I really am concerned about the budget, that the proposals you're getting. I've heard a few whispers that to build the library for $30 million is near impossible. And I believe that's a big concern for this council.
Understood, and that is a concern of ours as well. And I'll actually get to that in just a second. I'll speak to that just a little bit. So the proposals for this, after we extended the deadline, so now the proposals are now due May 21st, with final consultant selection anticipated in June and a presentation to council for award expected July 9th. It has been a year since we established the $30 million budget that in recent independent cost estimates indicate escalation in atypical market conditions, such as volatile oil prices and regional procurement demands tied to the 2028 Olympics that could result in a project cost exceeding the $30 million threshold. So, so to your point, the $30 million was established a year ago, and in the construction industry, we're seeing escalation of prices generally higher than what we've seen in the past.
So I couldn't help but notice when we were looking at Public Works that page after page, what you're dealing with in operational risks is material cost escalation. And that's applicable across the board and certainly with this. So I look forward to getting the information as soon as possible so that we can get moving in the best way forward for our library. Thank you.
Agreed. As staff, we will actively explore additional funding to help bridge any potential funding gaps. Moving on to Dave Irwin Park. This project continues to design. Staff will bring a study session item forward on May 28th to discuss revised project delivery options and a phased implementation strategy. Fire Station 102 is nearing completion. Temporary occupancy is anticipated this August, with final completion anticipated in September. Fire Station 33 and 71 continue through their final design, with staff is actively working with CAL FIRE on alternate temporary station options, which may reduce both project costs and construction duration. This reflects our broader effort to evaluate projects differently and identify opportunities for efficiencies while still delivering high-quality projects. Our street rehabilitation program, street resurfacing remains one of the city's core infrastructure investments. This fiscal year includes major rehabilitation work on Cook Street and Monterey Avenue. Walk and Roll Palm Desert continues expanding and improving pedestrian, bicycle, and golf cart connectivity throughout the city. Phase 2, which focuses on bicycle lane improvements, will be complete next month. And Phase 3, which focuses on pedestrian improvements, begins next fiscal year. And finally, Haystack Channel improvements, we're working through the final design and permitting, with construction anticipated to begin next fiscal year. So construction cost escalation continued to be one of our largest challenges facing public agency as well as our department. As shown in the California Construction Cost Index, the 5-year average escalation rate was approximately 7.66%. Current market conditions trending higher than average based on inflationary pressures, labor costs, supply chain constraints, and material pricing, which continue to impact project costs. Because of this, staff is implementing stronger project controls, financial management practices across the entire program. Some of our key process improvements include cost monitoring and estimate updates, Staff will regularly update project estimates throughout design and construction to reflect current market conditions and real project risks. This increases in transparency and maintains cost controls. Scope discipline. We will place stronger emphasis on controlling scope and avoiding unnecessary project expansion and over-designing. This helps maintain alignment with council priorities, project needs, and available funding. Strategic cash flow management. Staff will work closely with finance to better forecast actual construction expenditures. This improves liquidity management and maximizes interest earnings by timing expenditures appropriately. Reserve versus financing analysis. Projects will be evaluated strategically to determine whether reserve funding or debt financing would be recommended. This analysis will compare borrowing costs against projected construction escalation costs by deferring projects. Life cycle cost review. Staff will evaluate long-term operational and maintenance impacts during project development. This goal is to reduce long-term maintenance burdens and operating costs while improving asset performance. Contingency management. Contingencies will be based on real project risks and updated regularly throughout the project life cycle. This creates more accurate budgeting and reduces unnecessary inflation of project costs. Value engineering. Staff will continue evaluating project elements to ensure we are delivering intended outcomes efficiently and responsibly. The focus is balancing quality, functionality, and long-term value. This helps to control construction costs and long-term expenditures. Council decision points. An important part of this process is providing council with clear options, financial impacts, and decision points early in project development. Using Dave Irwin Park as an example, staff will present phased implementation options that will allow council to determine the appropriate level and timing of the investment. Moving forward, our approach to capital projects will emphasize transparency, fiscal responsibility, cost consciousness, high-quality project delivery, and on-time and on-budget performance. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to hear your closing statement. That's so important, being cost conscious and everything you just outlined. And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I had a similar comment that every department has come and given their plan, but I appreciate that you broke down how you're going to make it happen. A lot of the other are great presentations where I said this aligns here, but I appreciate that you've brought it down to a little bit more detail that other teams may say that's a great way to sometimes even word it. The way that something is worded will change a group's desire to get it done in a certain way. So I appreciate every single person that's involved in City Hall and making all of this run so the numbers look reasonable to us.
All right, thank you.
So to round things out, the proposed 26-27 operating budget is balanced. It prioritizes alignment with operational costs with the 2026 council goals. The budget anticipates general fund transfers for different services, for PDAC, for the library, for fire services, the Entrepreneurial Center, and other Measure G operational costs that it supports. The largest increaser is public safety costs, and we've mentioned that earlier. The CIP includes over $300 million worth of projects over the next 10 years, which, as Casey mentioned, will be brought to you for consideration in a timely manner. And general fund reserves may be necessary to complete those projects, but we will bring you those decision points at the time that they're needed to be considered. The Housing Authority complex operations are generating positive NOI. Staff continues to pursue resource opportunities for capital improvements, and we'll come back to council, as Kalina mentioned earlier, for a deeper dive into that. We look forward to another busy and successful fiscal year, and appreciation out to staff, all the different department directors and staff leads for walking us through the budget. And also to my team, to Sky and Austin for taking on the lion's share of producing the budget each year. I just want to say thank you, and if you have any additional questions, we're all here to answer them.
All right, any questions from my colleagues? All right. Well, I think I speak for all of us when I say it was thoughtful and well presented and well researched, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Is that it?
That concludes your study session, and you
Okay.
have no closed session.
So we're not going to talk about the City of Palm Desert Wildan Benefit Assessment District. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Well, then I guess I will adjourn the study session at 2:25. We'll see you back here at 4 p.m. for the regular council meeting. Thank you.